Hey guys, welcome back. So guys, in this video we are going to start with the CRUD application in Codeigniter 4 plus versions. Okay, so guys, now for CRUD application we will get started with one employee detail. Okay, so let's create one table for that. So make sure you have created. So let's create first table where I'm going to create in Codeigniter 4 database called employee table. Let's create the table name called employee. Yes, and ID will be default. ID where integer 11, and then we have to make it to primary. So let's make it primary over here and go, and let's increment the auto increment. Done. And now guys, let's insert and give first name first_name first name, where varchar will be and value will give 191, and then second column will be last underscore name, where this also will give varchar 191, and then over here you will give phone number. We will take this varchar and we will give this as 50 or 191 default you can mention. So let's follow up with 50 more. Two columns which are required for email and designation, and one more thing which will be created. So let's increment with 3 columns. Let's add that 3 columns over here. Done. Let's add it email, designation, and created underscore at. Okay, so now let's change this to varchar, and this will be as 191. We will check it. Let's make this also varchar designation, and not varchar, we'll make it to medium text, not medium int. Okay, so let's give no values. Value will be assigned automatically, and this one we will make it to timestamp. So this timestamp will make it to current timestamp. It should automatically enter the timestamp. So let's save this. Let's click. So processing request, and a table is created now guys. You can see that employees table is ready. So let's get started with that. So let's get back to our VS Code, and this is our fresh application now over here. As you can see, this is the page. So guys, now when I click on this, the employee URL we have need to create and create the page. So let's get back and let's go to our app folder, views. We want to create one folder called employee. So let me create employee folder. Inside that employee, I am going to create one new file called index.php file. As simple. And inside this we need to design the layouts. So let's get started with that. So before designing layouts, I have already started with that, where in front end I have added those. Okay, so added means like you have to link your bootstrap and make all the sections. So guys, now we have already rendered this section, so let's include this section into our file and extend this file to in this page. So let's call that. Okay, so let's paste here guys. So inside my layouts folder I have frontend.php, so that file only I'm calling and then extending the section. So section is over here. As you can see, that section of render section which I have called it. So let's close this file and make sure you have set the bootstrap. So guys, now to view this page we have to set the route first. So before setting route, let me just give one container where row, then column md12, where inside this card header, and then card body. Simple. So before this card header you need to give card. Okay, and this card header we have to make it card -header. Okay, and inside this h4 tag, which will be employee data. As simple. Let's save this and let's view this page. So before viewing, we need to go to config and check with routes.php. So let's click on routes.php over here and let's add the route for it. So let me just paste with the route, start with route called employee data, CRUD for employee data, where $ROUTS routes of get function. Inside this get function I am going to call my route called employee, copy and paste, and then give / and let's create a controller for it. So what controller you're going to create? Employee controller, which will be at index function. We need to create that. So let's create a controller first. Let's copy and go to your controllers folder. Inside that, right click and create new file, employee controller.php, where you need to write the class for it. So first open PHP and include the namespace of it. So let's call namespace with, you're inside the app folder, so app folder and then controllers folder. Because you are inside the controllers, let's use semicolon and then simple create a class for it. Let's create a class called employee controller, which extends your base controller. Okay, base controller, base controller. So this base controller, above base controller, we want to extend that. Simple. And now guys, inside this only we will be doing our code. So over here you need to go into create a page, function called public function index, index function, and inside this you are going to return view where the path. So what path you are going to call this index page? So inside views folder, employee folder and index.php, as simple. So let's type employee folder / index.php. If you want to extend, or else just do index only. So let's save and check the output of it. Let's refresh. You can see employee data. Cool. So let's get back to our employee page design. Over here, let me just add margin top 5. So let's refresh. You can see that data is here. So now let's insert the data first. So before fetching, you have to insert the records. So let's insert a dummy details from here only. So let me insert some data. You can see let's ID is auto incremented, so ignore that. Let's insert call full name, where I'm going to insert first name Ved and then Prakash N, and then phone number, so 888, and let's give ved@gmail.com, and then designation as web developer. Let's create a stamp is there. So let us fetch one more detail called Om Prakash, Om Prakash N, and then phone number 99999999, om@gmail.com. Designation is Django Python developer. Okay, let's save, and we need 2 records, so we'll for this testing. So let's move with that. Let me just browse over here. Okay, so you can see 2 records we have inserted by directly into database. Now let's fetch that data over here. So let's get back, and yep guys, so let's move to our controller. Okay, so from here you are going to call the model. So how will you call? So before calling your database table, you need to create a model. So let's go inside the models folder over here and create one model called employee. Let's style employee employee.php. So this will be my employee model. Done, and this will extend that. So let's call this open PHP and close PHP, as simple, and call the namespace. Okay, so this namespace, it's inside app folder. Inside app folder, you're inside the models folder. Let's call model models models folder, semicolon, and then you need to create a class called employee. So this will be my employee model, employee, where extends the model. Okay, and then open close. So this model will be used from your Codeigniter. So let's use that. You can see that it's used top directly. So when we hit enter, it automatically imports. Okay, so you need to extend just install your extension for that. And now guys, let's give a protected and give table name first. So my table name is nothing but employee. So let's copy this table name and paste. And now you have to give the primary key. So let's make this also protected $primary, all in small letter, and key in capital, then again small, where you're going to tell this primary key is ID. And now the allowed fields, we need to check with that protected allowed fields, and inside this you need to pass all the fields which you required to insert. So those are nothing but this. Let me just browse with the structure. Let's copy and paste. So first name need to copy and paste over here. So same way you need to input all the things. So let's copy that last underscore name, then email, phone, and then final designation. So let's copy that also, designation, and paste over here. That's it. Let's save this and fetch this data. So let's call this over here. So let me just type on folder called, variable name employee, and inside this we will call our model. So my model is employee. Done. Either you can give function also, not required. If you can, just ignore with that. So let's use this over here. Use inside app folder /models folder / your employee data. Okay, so this is how you import that. Let's use that over here, and let's pass this variable into the view page. So let's create one variable called data, and inside this data of array, where I'm going to pass this. So use find function, find all, capital A, and then give semicolon. So this will fetch all the records from your employee table, and let's pass this employee name. So with this help of name, we are going to fetch that. So let's pass this variable data inside this index page. So let's pass, and let's copy this and fetch into this index page. Let's go over there and fetch the data over here. So before fetching, need a simple table design. So let's add that table border, where it's very simple. Let me just finish with that as soon. Table row, table heading, where first is ID, first name, then last name, email, phone, designation, and then created at. If you required, you can add, or else remove that. So let's add one final action which will be there. Simple. Same way you need to fetch that over here in table body. Let's give table row, and inside this td you are going to fetch over here. Let's type the code for it. So open PHP and close PHP. Let's give for each function, and let's give colon over here. Okay, let's pass the variable called employee. So let me just copy that, employee, $employee as $. These are row items. So let us give row, and your for each is started. So let's end the for each first. php open and php close, and let's end for each and give semicolon. Oops, just remove that parenthesis, and now over here you are going to fetch record. So let's copy this $row and echo that. So this is a shortcut method to echo, where I'm going to echo the ID. Save, and now let's refresh and see. Let's refresh. Over here you can see 1 and 2 ID is coming. So let's fetch all the details of it over here. Right now we have inserted 2 data, right? So let's see now. Copy, paste, 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 and then just type with the first underscore name all your column names of your database. So last name, and then email, phone, designation, same, and created underscore at, and then one final thing which will be td, where you can access those for edit and delete. Okay, so let us just create one simple button for that. Edit class, where simple button for edit we can give as success, where button small I will design with that. Copy and paste same thing and make it to delete, and from success to danger. Simple. Save it and let's check the output. Okay, so very missing is there. Undefined index, why? Spelling mistake. What is the designation? Spelling is missed over here. So let's recorrect this. Designation spelling is wrong. So let me just change this. Okay, let's change this variable name, I mean column name, designation, DESIGNATION. So let's save, and let's go and paste that same name. That's it. Save this and let's get back and refresh once again. So created at, also one is missing. Here it's correct spelling. Let us check over here. Okay, let's paste that. Let's refresh. So next. Cool. So finally we have fetched the data now. So guys, let's make one insert button to insert the data from here only. Okay, so now guys, we will be inserting the data. So let's get started with this. As simple, we are on the employee, and now let's move to our VS Code editor, and then over here this is our heading. So let me add one button to insert. So let's create one button called with the a tag as add employee, and over here we'll give a class button primary, where button float right. Okay, and let's create one echo, where you will create base underscore URL for add, or you can tell employee hyphen add. Okay, so let's copy this and create that into our route. So before creating route, let me just refresh and show you the data. So you can see over here, okay, it's bootstrap 5 I think. So let's make it to end. Let's refresh. You can see that. Okay, so let's click on this. You can find a URL called employee add. So let's create a route for it. Go to routes, and now let's create one route with the get method $ROUTS routes, where get function, where inside this I'm going to pass this path, and then go to your controller. So in previous video only we created the controller, so let's copy and paste over here and tell this create page. Okay, so let's create a function with the name create in your employee controller. So let's move over there and create a function, public function, where method name will be create, and inside this you are going to view the page. So return view, oops, let's tell over here employee / create.php file. So let's copy this and go to employee folder. This is our views folder. Inside views we have created employee, and inside this we'll create a file called create.php. Hit enter and your page is created now. So let's design this file and start inserting the data. So before that I'll just show you some output of it. Okay, so this same design we are going to use, just instead of table the form will be there. So let's move on and copy that form. So this is my index page. Let me just move over here, index page. Let's minimize this table and copy all the things required into it, paste. Let's copy and paste. Let me just minimize this sidebar. Let's make it to back. Danger, and this will be employee only. Over here employee, add employee, done. Let's view this page, refresh, you can see the output. Cool. So let's click this back, you can see employee. Let's add employee, done. So let me just remove this question mark, and let's create a simple form. So what forms you are going to create? The table required designs. So we have this many columns in our database, so these columns only we are going to create, like first name, last name, phone, email and designation. So these 5 fields we are going to create with that. So let's get back and start creating with that. Okay, so row, where I'm going to start with the column MD6 over here, and now let me form group form-group group, and here label will be there, and let's give this label for called first name input dot form control. This will be for your first name. So let's give name attribute where it will be first underscore name, and placeholder is equal to first name. Enter first name, save it, and let's see the output. Refresh. Okay, you can find that, right? So let me just design all the required fields till that. So guys, now I have designed, let me just paste that, done. As simple, you can see the same name which I have created for first name, then last name with the name attribute called last name, email, phone and designation with one simple button that is called submit. Okay, and then let me just refresh and show you the output. So let's refresh. Our form is ready now. So let's start the code for inserting the data into our database. Okay, so let's begin with that. Done. And now this is our form where this row starts over here. So from this row before and row ending, at that place we are going to create a form, and this form action over here, and let's cut this and paste below to it. And over here we have to include, like method will be post, post, and over here your action will be is equal to where open code base underscore URL, where you are going to send the data. So what data you are going to send is employee save. Okay, so let's copy this and go back to our route. So instead of save, let's give store. Okay, so this will be better, nice to remember. So let's copy this and move to your routes, and let's create a route for it. So $ROUTS routes, where with the post method we are going to send. Okay, so inside this post method, first we have to declare the route and then call your controller. So let's call the controller inside single quotes we are going to call the controller at store function. Okay, so let's create a store method into your employee controller. Let's go back over here, public function where store method, and over here you are going to type all the data. So first, where we are going to store into our employee model, so make sure you have created. So let's call this model over here. Let's create a variable called employee, and where new you will tell employee controller, model. Okay, so this employee model name, same name, this name we have to call over here and use that at top. Once done, let's create variable called data, and inside that you are going to store the data whatever you are getting from the input. So let me just give first underscore name. So why this is we are taking, this is for to store in data. So this first name, last name, that we are calling over here. So what data you are going to pass over here is nothing but $this request of your getting the help of post method. Okay, PUST post method. So what data you are getting that. So let me just tell you over here in create.php you are getting this first name. Let's copy that and send over here. As simple. Let me just remove this semicolon because with that it will show error. Let's paste for everything and let's change this to last name. Okay, and then give the same, because we have already given the same names for this, you can see that. So email, phone and designation. So let's copy this and create for this 3, which will be email and phone and one designation. So let me just replace with that over here, designation, and then the same for this also, email column and phone column. Done. So these are the few details we want to insert into our database. So now guys, let's use the save function. So let's call this employee variable over here and call the save function, and inside this save function you are going to pass this $data. So let's copy this $data and send over here. As simple. And after saving, let's return and redirect. So let's tell, let me just redirect function to where I want to redirect. Redirect to, and after redirecting, where with this function I want to send a message. Okay, so first let's type that base underscore URL. I want to redirect back to where? So employee page over here. So let's go back where this page. So this page should be shown. So let's copy this URL and paste over here. And with means we are going to set one status with the help of with function. So with function on works on sessions. Okay, so where you will tell employee added, employee added added successfully. Okay, save this, and now guys let us store and see. So before storing this, let's create this status to check the message. So let's go to employee URL, so which will land on index page. So let's to view the message. So guys, I have already coded, so let me just paste with that. As simple, there is nothing much in this, where you can see the session is set. When it is set, the time it will get. If it is set means we are going to echo in h4 tag where I am showing the status. So this status will work on with this with status. So let me save and refresh the page. Okay, cool. And now let's add the data. So let us test with that. So right now you can see only 2 datas are there. So let me add one more data called Arun Kumar, where arun@gmail.com, and phone number some digit, and over here we'll tell business, BISNS, businessman. Okay, let me click on save. So you can see that you have got the data and you have fetched the record. Okay, designation did not insert over here. So let's just refresh in your browser also and see. that really it is not inserted. Why it's not inserted? So let's check that. Okay, so input tag we have to check first this is correct spelling. Okay, our column name. So let's check this input tag, it's given perfect or not. So let's paste that over here, it's the same. Okay, so it is not getting allowed. Why? So let me just check in the model table over here. Okay, so here is a spelling mistake. So guys, make sure you are not giving any spelling mistake. If you give spelling mistake, it will not save the data, so which means allowed fields only will save it here. So make sure you are giving correct spelling. And let's get back and let's add one more data to see that it's working fine. So we can tell Mahesh Kumar, where mahesh@gmail.com, where phone number, and tell BCA employee. Let's click on save. So let's saved, and you can see that data is added perfectly. So let's browse over here. Okay, cool. So this is how we are saving all the data. So let me just add over here simply, that's businessman, because we missed that, right? So for that sake it didn't save. So guys, we have successfully inserted the data and saw that message also. So guys, as we saw in previous, that is about fetching the data and adding the data of employee. Okay, and now in this we'll be covering about how to edit and update the data. So guys, let's get started with it. So first move to our editor, and over here you can see that it's our index page. So index page means this page. Okay, and the table of this is over here. Let me just open this table, and you can see that data, and this is our edit button, right? And now let's code with this. So first step, we will open PHP is equal to, then close PHP directly to echo that. So let's call base_URL function. Inside this you are going to call the path. So my path will be employee /edit/ and the employee's ID. Okay, so let's give dot and concatenate this data $row of ID. So let's copy this and paste over here, and let's give semicolon. That's it, not semicolon in function we don't require. So let's save this, and now same we are going to create about this. So first let us see it is working fine or not. Let's get back, refresh, and let's click on this second row. Okay, over here I'm going to click on edit. You can see that employee edit and then its ID. So let's copy and create a route for it. So let's go to your routes.php, and now over here let me just create the route, ROUTES, routes, where we are going to use get function. Oops, let's give semicolon, and then inside single quotes you are going to paste this. So for any passing the parameters in your URL, that time you are going to use this parenthesis, where you are going to call this any you can call, or call the number, which will be okay. So we are passing the number, so let us call the numbers, and let's call the URL for it, I mean controller. So let's call the controller over here. So we have already created the controller, and now let's tell this function name as edit. So let's create, when you are sending any parameters or any numbers, so we need to send in this function also, edit function. So give $1. Okay, so $1 it is. So when you give this will be assigned with that variable thing. So let's copy this and go to our employee controller and create a function. Let's move, and over here let's create the function, public function, where edit, and we have, oops, let me just open with curly braces, and now inside this function we have to take the ID. Okay, let's give in small letters and ID. So this is passed how, with the help of this route. So over here you are sending, and how this is coming from this, okay, from your URL. So let's get back and create the page for it. So let's return view, where you are going to return the page. Let's create employee folder. Inside employee folder I am going to edit.php file. Okay, if you can include means import this, or else just ignore this. Okay, so let's create a edit.php file. Let's go to our views folder. Inside employee folder, I'm going to create one new file with the name edit.php. Hit enter and edit.php file is created. So guys, we need some design to do that. So before designing, let me just show you a demo. Let's say hello and refresh the page. You can find that page, edit one. So guys, now for this editing the data, we can use the same form which we have used in add employee. Okay, so this same form we are going to use for the editing the data. So let's get back and copy the create page. Let's go to create.php, give Ctrl A and copy and paste the same form. As simple. And remove few things. So first let us check the output, and according to it we will remove it. Let's get back and let's click on edit with the ID 2. Okay, and this is our form. Over here let's change this title and the details of it. So first we will make it to edit employee, and the back button will be the same. And now over here let's remove this base URL for right now. When we click on submit, that time we'll check with that. So let's give enter, and over here you need to fetch all the data. So for that, as simple you can see, and let's make it to update. Okay, and let's get back over here guys. So now we need to fetch all the data. So let's go to our employee controller at edit function. Let's follow that. So let's call that, create a employee variable where you are going to call your employee model. Okay, employee model, and in this employee model you are going to find the data. Which data you are going to find with the help of this ID number 2. So how will you find that? So before doing that, you need to import this, or else use in this class. So make sure you have added your model, and this is my model over here. As simple. Okay, now let's get back to our controller and let's go to our edit function, and over here let me copy this and paste where I'm going to use find function given by Codeigniter, and let's call that ID, and this ID will be called, and let's send this. So let's create a data variable data of array. Okay, is equal to, and inside this you are going to call the variable called employee. Okay, and now copy this and send to this page. As simple. Data done. Let's copy this and go to edit page. Let's move, and over here you are going to paste in that. So let's give value is equal to, and inside this PHP open and close, and inside this you are going to echo. So how will you echo? Dollar employee of what? Your first name of your column. So in my table you can see that Codeigniter 4. Inside this you need a employees table. So you can see that first name, last name, email, phone, and designation. So these fields we are going to require that. So let's copy and call the same things. Okay, let's copy, paste, last name, and then email. Let's copy and paste. Email has done, and now phone, copy and paste. For the designation also you can just copy and paste where the same name of it. So let's save this, and now let's check the output of it, where we'll refresh this, and now you can see all the data. It's coming fine. So let's get back and check with other ID also. Let me click to ID number 4. Okay, so let's edit on this. You can see that Mahesh data where ID 4, it's coming. Cool. So guys, now let's start with the updating of this data. So let's go back, and let's first, you need to update the form URL. So let's give employee update, give /, okay, update with the ID. So let's call this ID over here. Let's copy and let's paste. Let me concatenate and then paste it. So over here you are going to call ID, not the first name. So let's take this and update with that. So go and create a route for it. Let's move to routes.php, where you're going to tell routes, where I'm going to use the post method to update the data. Okay, paste and / we are taking ID. So let's pass in numbers and then create a controller with that. So let's take this same thing, because we are passing the parameters over here, number, integer, that will be sent to this function. So let's create a function called update in the same employee controller. So let's copy this name and create a function in it, public function, where update, let's close and open. Okay, and now you have to write the code first. So let me just copy this same thing over here and the same ID also. Okay, so you are going to find that. So let's pass that $ID over here, and inside this we are going to get this data, same thing. So let me just paste with that. Same you are going to find, and then after finding you are going to update the data. So what are the data you are going to update from the input method? So we have done already in our to store that. So let me just copy that same thing and paste over here. Done. And now with this help, what is it? This is nothing but your database column names. So these column names, first name, last name, email, phone, and designation. So those are the column fields over here, and these are the input tags. So this first name, last name, email, phone, and designation are nothing but your input tags, name attributes. So these are the fields over here. Okay, phone and designation, and then common submit button to update that with the help of this route. Okay, with this post method. So let's get back to a controller, and over here make sure you are passing the correct names. Done. So once it is done, let's copy this again variable, same employee variable, where you'll copy and paste and call the update function. Okay, so in update function you need to pass that $ID first, and then you will pass the $data sent over here. Okay, so you are doing directly over here, so we don't require this method also. So okay, so let's remove that, and directly we are passing that ID. On this ID you need to update this data we are telling. So once updated, you need to return and redirect to some page, right? So let us just copy this same thing and paste with that to return and redirect, where base URL, where I'm going to employee with the status employee updated successfully. So to view the status, we have already done on this employee page, where I'll just show you that code. Okay, so this is the simple code to view the message of the status. Let's get back to our controller and let's save the code. So guys, now let's try to update the data. Get back, refresh, and now let's change this designation to some company employee. Okay, let me click on update. I've clicked. Now you can see that company employee, it's updated, and you can get the message also, employee updated successfully. So guys, we have successfully updated. So let me just change this from this ID number 1 web developer to full stack developer. So let's go back, full stack web developer. Let me update employee. You can see that it's updated successfully. So guys, if you want one more method to update, like from the post method to put method. Okay, so let me just show you. If you require to use put method, so what is that? Put method is nothing but from your route over here. You don't want to use post method, you want to use put method. When you're accessing this put, you need to update over here in your edit form. So below this form only, let me just show you to update that. Let's give put, and over here make it to hidden this, and let's give a name attribute. Oops, not namespace, name attribute with underscore MET thod method and value which will be put method. So this is how you are going to update with this input tag. Okay, so let's save this and let's update the data using put method. So these are the very basic changes in put method. So let's get back, refresh the page, and now let us edit. So I'm going to edit this id number 2 data. Let's click on it and let's remove this Django to direct Python developer. So I'm going to click update. Okay, we clicked on it and it's successfully updated. You can see that Python developer. Hey guys, welcome back. So guys, as we are continuing our CRUD application for employee data in Codeigniter 4. So guys, till now we have completed our adding the employee, fetching the employee, editing and updating the employee, and now in this we will be covering about deleting the employee. So when we click on this delete, that time this record should get deleted. Okay, so guys, let's get started to implement that. So let's move to our table, and here you can see our delete button which is shown over on this Google Chrome. And guys, let us update with that. So let's create a URL for it. So open PHP and close PHP, where inside this we are going to give a URL which will be base underscore URL function, and inside this we will call the path of it. So we are going to set a route. Let's give / delete with the ID. So ID you need to access. We'll get dot concatenate and then we will call the route ID of it, employee ID. And now with this help of path we will delete the record. So guys, let's create a route for it. So let's go over here and let's create a routes where I'm going to use get function. We'll just call this path and delete the data, where / into a parenthesis where number we are going to send, and then at the same controller we are going to pass that with the ID. Okay, let's pass with the ID and we'll go to delete function, delete method. So let's copy this and go to employee controller. I've created a delete method over there. So let's create one function, public function at delete, and inside this we are to delete the employee data. So employee data means like our model. So let us create one variable called employee is equal to where we are going to call our employee model. So this is my employee model. Done. So when you're calling this, you have to call at the top. You have to make sure you're using this. So this is my model over here, so which I have created for my table. Okay, so let's get back to our controller with the delete method, and over here let's copy this same variable and paste over here and call the delete function. Oops. delete function. Okay, and inside this you're going to pass the ID $ID. So what $ID you are sending over here, so this will carry the numbers, right, as per your route. So you are sending here the number digits, I mean employee ID. So that employee ID will be passed with this in the delete method. So let's go over there and you can see that, and take that ID variable and delete the data. So once if you send over here, the ID of this table will be deleted, and once after deleting, let's get back and paste the same code. Let's tell over here return and redirect to same page called employees. So employee means this page only will be redirected, and then again you can tell this as employee deleted successfully. Let's save and refresh. Yeah guys, so let me just add one dummy detail and delete that. Let's add dummy where dummy@gmail.com, some phone number and some designation. Save. The record is saved. So let's click on this to delete. So let me just refresh. This message will go, and let's click on delete. So I'm going to click on delete button, where you can see that employee deleted successfully. Cool. So our data is deleted and come back to same page. So guys, this was the one method which we have used to delete the record. Okay, so guys, now let us use one delete method to delete the record. So like when you create a route, right, we have used the get. So instead of get, I want to use delete. So let me just copy and paste, and let me comment with this, and where I want to use delete method. Okay, so this delete function should be there to delete this record. So for in this case, you need to use let's go to index and create a for that. Let me just minimize this sidebar, and let's create a form. Let's comment this, create a form, and inside this, where you're going to pass action is equal to, and method is equal to, you can see post, and one input tag that will be hidden, and this name is equal to, where you are going to send underscore method value, which will be delete, delete. Okay, delete, simple. And now same URL you are going to copy, same base URL. Let's copy and paste into your form action. Done. And then one submit button. So let's create a button called delete, and the same class you are going to copy and paste that inside this delete button. So before that class, you need to assign that submit. Let's give submit and save the data. So guys, it is commented where you can find. Let's save this, and now let us test with that. Okay, and check. So let's get back, refresh. Cool. Now let us click on this delete. So let me just click on delete on this fourth ID number 4. Click delete, where you can see that employee deleted and the ID number is 4 not there. Okay, so you can see in the database also it will not be there. So guys, this is how we use the delete method to delete the record. So guys, this was the second method. Just for knowledge purpose, I have thought on this. So that's it in this video guys, and thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe, like and share.